Hey, this is Kirk Hilliard.
And this is Rusty Bird on the Kirk and Byrd show. Yeah, two brothers from the 757 up here in the DMV 703 talking sports. And, we got a couple of topics we want to hit on real quick tonight. When you hear some of the topics, some of the things we're saying, I want you to tweet back at us and at the Kirk and Byrd show on Twitter and let us know where we're wrong. I mean, let us know where Kirk is wrong because everything I say is going to be on point. First thing, Kirk, look, we just got through week 2. There's always a lot of hype when we talk about rookie quarterbacks. There's a lot of different opinions. First, before we actually get into the specific rookie quarterbacks, and if you want, we can even go into second-year quarterbacks because we can talk about the development and how they were brought in last year. But let me hear a little bit about your philosophy on rookie first-round picks, quarterbacks, and then let's just actually look at what they're doing. And things can change drastically from week 1 to week 2, and we're gonna hit on those guys, and let's have an intelligent and ridiculous conversation, a passionate conversation about these rookie QBs. First, where do you stand? Rookie first-year quarterbacks, should they play right away? Should you just throw them in, or should they sit and wait a little bit? So whether they're waiting a couple of games, a year or two, that's Aaron Rodgers made things. He wasn't happy sitting behind Brett Favre, but I think it was one of the best things. Same thing with Tom Brady. He sat behind
Bledsoe.
And I think it was to his benefit. Now, he wasn't a first-round pick, and there were no expectations for him to do what he did. But let me hear your thoughts, Kirk.
All right, Hudson. I went a minute and 55 seconds without interrupting another human being. So
that's a record. Anybody that knows Kirk knows brother likes to talk, loves to talk. But I do too. So we're figuring this thing out, but sometimes it's good to talk over each other. I think people want to know you're passionate and know you're wrong.
Oh, yeah. I can be wrong on a lot of stuff. I was thinking about some of the mistakes I've already made. We don't have a fact checker. We don't need one. But
right.
It is the evening of September 23rd. It's Thursday evening. And Rusty and I are taping this. And as I take up your subject, Rusty, I'm thinking of a master plan. Nothing but sweat inside my hands. I will say this, with the right situation, playing a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback right away can be good, i.e. Dan Marino, who is arguably one of the best ever. I believe Big Ben played Roethlisberger. Mm-hmm. He's a Hall of Famer. But I also think you can, like pitchers in baseball, you break them up too fast, you can ruin them. So, I think easing people in, learning the system, that playbook is nothing like a college playbook, and the speed of the game is nothing. The windows, they say, I heard this, Rusty, from, I think it was Brian Greasy. And Brian Greasy said the windows are the same size in pro, but the time you got to throw in those windows, in other words, a window the size of the windows in our houses is where you have to throw the ball. The time is off. So, that's my thoughts. It's a situational thing. You've had, it's the exception to the rule for somebody to come in and, do very well. Those are statistical outliers. So let me ask you, Rusty, what do you think about our 5 first-round picks? Of course, we've got Trevor Lawrence. We've got Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones. Why don't you give me your thoughts?
So do you want to go in the order they were selected, or first just hear my overall preference or thoughts the way this should work? So for you know what, I'll go with kind of how they were selected. And I'll start by saying that you make a good point. Each situation, each scenario varies, based on where you're selected in terms of where you're selected, not only in the draft in the first round. And what I mean by that is, I think there are different expectations between a person being the number one, like a Trevor Lawrence, as opposed to a later round, first round pick. So, or let's look at it. I don't. Were they in the same draft class when you have Baker Mayfield, number one overall, Cleveland Browns, and then Lamar Jackson, a later round pick, later first round pick. Was he late first round? Yeah, he snuck into the first round, I believe. But what you look at and you go, the expectations are different. Now, they're not necessarily different if you've got like these super five we had this year, where some like other than the number one overall, sliding 2 through 5, they all there was an argument that any of them could have been anywhere. I know there were rumors that San Francisco was moving up so they could get Jones. And maybe they played everybody with their selection. But I guess what I was, again, to agree with you, I think it matters where you go. So the team that has, probably the best system that you can be successful in. It matters whether you're able to sit and learn if that option is available. Next, I think what matters is blocking and receivers. Like, you can have the greatest scheme in the world, but if you don't have those great receivers, if you don't have blocking, it's going to be rough. And so I think one of the keys is having a pretty good team. If you're going to start early, pretty good team, good blocking, at least one great receiver, and a defense that can help out. And again, each situation is different based on the pressures and expectations. But those are the things. My preference is actually to let that quarterback sit behind a decent veteran for a year, if possible. If possible.
You know what comes to mind, Rusty, is Patrick Ramsey from Tulane. The Redskins got, I believe, the second pick in the first round, which is basically a first rounder, back in 2005. And he got beaten to a pulp when he was here. Yep. That was a classic case of a guy that, he played for the Redskins, the Jets, the Broncos, the Titans, the Lions, the Saints, Jaguars, Dolphins, and Vikings. And I thought he was pretty good, but he stayed on his back. So when I transition, we can go back and forth on this. I would say that, a lot of people are giving Zach Wilson a hard time because of 5 picks or 4 picks. I should have that down pat against the Patriots. So his stock is down. He's also played in New York, big market. Okay. And then, by the way, I wanted to point that out, the markets. If you look at these markets, Trevor Lawrence is playing in one of the smallest markets in the NFL. Mm-hmm. Any pressure there is not what it is. Justin Fields is in a huge market. Zach Wilson is in a huge market. Trey Lance is in a huge market. And Mac Jones is in a huge market. A lot of people don't realize Boston gets all of New England. It's one of the biggest TV markets. So I would tell you that of these top 5, I think that right now, I know who I would rate number 1. Who would you rate number 1, Rusty?
Well, first off, let me just start by saying this. One of the things you can't do, and it's where people get tricked and fooled, it happened to, a couple of Redskin quarterbacks or Washington football team quarterbacks, is you can't go by the preseason. You can't go by the preseason because a lot of times those rookie quarterbacks don't even start the preseason games, and when they're getting in, they're throwing against guys that are not even going to make the team. So you're seeing and you're getting fooled and tricked by you have this perception, if you know that, oh well, you know, this was already a great college quarterback, and then they come in and they make a splash like that in the preseason, and people are like, see, he's going to be great. And I think that's a deadly game to get yourself into, thinking that that's any real indicator. And you know that happened with Justin Fields. You know, a couple of times that he came in, he made some big plays with his legs. He threw the ball well, and people are like, Justin Fields needs to start, you know, over Andy Dalton. You know, let's get this thing rolling, get it going. And my opinion is, again, it depends on the location. It depends on, like, Justin Fields came into probably the best situation because of all the teams there. You know, he came into a team that was a playoff team last year and has a solid defense. It's no longer great. That's a whole nother show. But I thought he came into a good situation. Trevor Lawrence came into a very difficult situation. And yeah, he's throwing interceptions, but you know, there are a lot of injuries on that team. You know, they don't have Intium. They don't, the coach is going to have to figure out the NFL game. And he's going to have,
unless he goes to Southern Cal.
Right. So if he goes to Southern Cal, he says he's not going. I know, but Urban Meyer, look, he always looks stressed, and he's had heart issues. He stepped down from Florida because of health. I think things weighed on him at Ohio State with the controversy they had there with his receivers coach and accusations of spousal abuse, and he just looks miserable. Yep. And so, Zach Wilson, he had a bad game. He had a bad game, but he's playing for the Jets. Like every quarterback in the last couple of years has had a bad game.
The Patriots. A lot of people went bad against them.
Yeah. And Mac Jones, let me say this. I don't think he's necessarily played great or good or well. He just hasn't played bad. And that's all the Patriots need right now.
Completing 75% of his passes, no picks, good game manager, and I think he's got the skills to go beyond a game manager. That's my number one.
You're going by some basic stats. But look. So look at his stats. What has he thrown? One touchdown in 2 games. He's less than 200 yards. Or around 200 yards. He's not. Is he really throwing it enough?
He's a rookie.
Well, no. So yes. But I guess, what is your question? Is he the best now, or do you project him to be the best?
No. I project Justin Fields, but we're going to find out really quick about Justin Fields because he's being thrown into the fire.
Yep.
He's starting. A lot of people think he's special. A lot of guys come in this league, and Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell. We go on and on. Andre, the guy from Houston. I'm sorry, getting old here. But so if Justin Fields is special, I think we're going to find out real quick, because when Dalton heals, are they going back to Dalton? My prediction is no. What do you think?
It depends on how Fields is playing. He's your long-term investment. If he's playing, doesn't have to play great. If he's playing well, I think you can try to, let him keep the job until he kind of blows it. I look at it like this, like last year with Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami. Fitzmagic started the season, actually was playing very well. I thought Miami messed up by just throwing Tua in there without letting, Ryan Fitzpatrick lose the job or do anything wrong. They threw him in, and they purposely threw him in a game, was not going to be a lot of stress or pressure. and he gave a false sense of being ready. And then they go back to Fitzpatrick. And, I think if you have a good veteran that can keep giving you some good wins, let the kid watch or throw him in some scenarios or special cases where he can use his legs, get a feel for the game, but not have the pressure of being the starting quarterback if you have an option like an Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's, not a great quarterback, but he's a good one, and that's better than I can say for the Bears in the last couple of years. So that's my take on Justin Fields and the Bears. He's going to start this week, but I have, no issue with Andy coming back and allowing Fields to get that feel. Like, I think the 49ers are doing it the right way. They're taking advantage of both guys' skill sets. They're getting, the number 3 overall pick.
Super Bowl a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Garoppolo's not horrible, but they can see the future in the skill set that Trey Lance had. And again, Trey Lance didn't have a lot of snaps in college. He only really started 1 year. And then, I think he played 1 game last year, with the COVID season. So, yeah, if you want to go down like Trevor Lawrence, it is what it is. He's not. They didn't have. I thought he could have benefited from letting Gardner Minshew start, but they just weren't going to do it. Well, and he didn't look bad in the preseason. He probably looks decent in practice, but he could have benefited if they gave Gardner those starting snaps, especially just to help his confidence. One of the worst things, like you said, is getting that rookie quarterback in there, getting him killed. Man, that can crush him for his career. You know?
It's only been 2 games. So no one's looked like a deer in the headlights, even with Zach Wilson having a bad game. I think that Trevor Lawrence, being on what's going to be a losing team that's going to rebuild, they're going to rebuild around him. So I also think that, when we talked about how they're going to be and ranking them when we had Tony Kennedy on,
yep.
I would say that Trevor Lawrence is starting to look, we said the pros would bring him down, his arm and his legs. Well, it is. But that does not mean he can't be a very good quarterback. I do not see Trevor Lawrence being a Pro Bowl quarterback. I see him being there's top third, bottom, middle third. I see him being maybe in the middle third.
And maybe in the middle third, yeah.
Yeah, middle third. And then I think that I like Justin Fields a lot. But, anything can go wrong. And then I think Mac Jones is going to be a very good quarterback in the league. He's going to be the top third. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but
if you're saying top third, you're talking. Don't you call it top third the superstars?
Top third.
Top third. So what's that? 10.
That's not superstars. 10.
Top 12. Top 11.
Quarterbacks. Yeah. You think about the 11th, 9th, 10th, and 11th rated quarterback. They're not superstars.
They're getting paid like superstars, but they may not be superstars. But yeah, right.
Kirk Cousins, great guy, by the way. Lived in Ashburn, but an average NFL quarterback. He just worked a system. He wouldn't take any chances. He doesn't turn the ball over. And I will tell you, the people in Minnesota are not real happy with him.
Oh, no.
But you get paid in this league. You get paid a lot of money in this league to do things a certain way. But Trey Lance, I think, is in a great situation, but we don't know him. We don't know. Like you said, didn't get a lot of snaps. And then Lawrence, I'd say middle. Zach Wilson is the wild card,
Yeah.
because he's playing for a bad team. Worse than the Jaguars. Plus, he's got the New York press. The press corps in New York is probably 8, 9, 10 times Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a tiny market. So, what I'm looking forward to is Fields this weekend and how he does. And, is it really the coach is saying, Nagy, that Dalton can't lose his job? What do you think? I say he can.
He can. I think he can if he plays poorly or let me say this. He can play well, but if they're losing, and he's even if he's playing well, the average fan will be tricked into thinking he's the solution. And I'm not saying he wouldn't come in and do well, maybe spark the team if they're, but if they lose a couple of games in a row with under Andy Dalton, everybody loves the backup quarterback, but especially the backup quarterback that's a highly touted rookie who did, great things in high school and college. They'll probably call for him, but I'm okay with Andy Dalton, just kind of taking him. The Bears are my favorite NFL team, and I feel good about our QB situation for the first time in 25, 30 years. So
that's for sure.
yeah. So Justin Fields, I think long term has the best upside. Will look to be the best. I think that Zach Wilson could be a good quarterback in the league, but not with the Jets. So just like Sam Darnold moved on and is playing, not okay in Carolina. He's got a 100 QB rating, and he's not losing games, and they're actually one of the better teams in the league. So from that perspective, let's look now at some of the second year and third year quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's a good segment, because I was getting ready to tell you we got to talk about the local guy, Taylor Heineke from Old Dominion University.
Yeah. Taylor Heineke, big fan. I love anything 757. You know what? I'm rooting for the dude. I'm pulling for him. The Washington football team used to be my second, third favorite team. One, just because when I was a kid, I loved John Riggins, Joe Theismann, Art Monk. Joe Washington. Just great teams, great defenses. Dexter Manley, Charles Mann. We knew all those players. And then, I moved to this area, and I immediately, I love the Skins. They had just won the Super Bowl in '91. And so, but, since Daniel Snyder's taken over, I've really grown to dislike the organization, not because of wins and losses, but because of how Snyder's run the organization and how he's actually treated the fans. So, I don't tend to pull for them, and I've actually tried to coax a lot of my friends, like family. I have a cousin who is we have to get him on the show because he is so diehard Redskins. And I'm like, just, like just drop it, right? Just drop him now, and you can. In fact, he lived in the DC area now for 30 years, close to 30 years, but he lives closer to Baltimore now. He's out in Howard, and I'm like, just switch over to the Ravens, and your life will be better. I'm like,
Howard is the divide. Howard's.
I know. He is at that Howard County line, but he's right across the street from BWI Airport and like 1 mile into Baltimore. And I'm telling him, like, bro, you're technically you can be a Ravens or a Redskins fan. Just make the switch. Like, they haven't done anything for you. And again, we'll have to get them on so I can have this argument with our folks listening. But so back to Heineke. I'm pulling for him. I hope he does well. I think he's a good replacement until Fitzpatrick comes back. And, he played well in the playoffs last year. Yeah. So I do have some other. What are your thoughts on Heineke? And then I want to move on to some of the second and third year quarterbacks and kind of how they're doing.
Yeah. I like his poise. He's got good skills, not great, but you don't have to have great skills in this league to be, really good. The GOAT, Tom Brady, does not have great skills. But I think that
wait. Tom Brady has skills. He just doesn't have athleticism. He has a skill set that he has perfected. It's his skill set, and it's not the most used one in today's game, but he has a set of skills. He has a very particular set of skills.
Okay. What I'm saying is he's not a Dan Marino. He is not a Troy Aikman. He is not Joe Montana. we've talked, let's not get into Tom Brady, but his number one skill is he feels the pressure coming. The guy does not have four eyes, one on each side of his head. He feels that pressure. He takes that one step forward. He climbs the pocket better than anyone. His arm is very good. It's not great.
Mm-hmm.
He's extremely competitive. So I would say he's extremely competitive. Perfectionist is number one. Number two is he senses the pressure better than anyone. Outside of that, plus he's 6'4". He's a big guy. He takes really
he takes great care of himself, but he also, like a Peyton Manning, he knows the game. Like, he knows where everybody's supposed to be. He doesn't have to necessarily have the strongest arm to get it there because he's throwing it before the break. Like, he knows the difference between this person's speed and their ability to catch it, where they're running routes. So that's I think that's a particular set of skills that make him special. And a lot of people don't put that much time into that craft. But yeah, so I feel you on that. Let me just throw out a couple of other first, second year. Sam Darnold. I talked a little bit about him now. He's not in New York, so let's see. I think it's surprising because nobody really kind of expected any of this out of Carolina. So he's doing well. Let's just say he's not a bust. He's doing well, and he's got right now as we speak. He's got the Panthers at 3-0, and they have 20. Actually, they won tonight, so the game is over, and they beat the Texans. Yeah, they beat the Texans at 3-0, and he 24-9, so he's getting it done.
I think the situation. I like that situation he's in. I like that football team. They're serious about winning. I think that's a much better situation than what he was in. So, how about Josh? How about Josh, the kid in Buffalo, Rusty?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So look, he was. I got to say, I'm a little biased because I'm a big Tyrod Taylor fan, and I did not like how Buffalo treated Tyrod, and so I was not pulling for him, and he didn't do very well those first 2 years anyway, and so. But he turned it around. I think some of it is he matured, he played better. But I also believe that Stephon Diggs had a lot to do with his success last year. He had a good year, but he got
good counsel. We got to give good counsel a shout out.
Oh yeah, good counsel, Virginia Tech. University of Maryland. Yeah, good counsel had the Fuller brothers. But I think that I think he's just going to be average. I think last year was an aberration. I think it was just a special year for him. I don't see him being able to keep that up. I'm actually more excited with some other second and third year guys that are like tearing it up, like Kyler Murray. Like Kyler Murray was a number one overall. Yep. And he's giving it to you. He's giving you what you would want out of that number one. I think that, of course, Justin Herbert. Now he was thrown in after a couple of after Tyrod got hurt. Justin Herbert has played well. I think that a disappointing quarterback. But it's not, we all kind of expected, we're like even surprised by his selection so early. Daniel Jones is a disappointment. But to me, Daniel Jones is Daniel Jones. Mitchell Trubisky, why did you move up for him? And so you get some of these early first round picks and they're disappointing. Joe Burrow, he gets a little more time because of the injury. But that's another one of those situations. Kind of like a Trevor Lawrence. Tremendous college career. So they felt like they had to play him. And you know what? Maybe in retrospect, the Bengals should have held on to Andy Dalton one more year, allowed to do what he's doing with Justin Fields, give Joe a chance. But they're like, no, let's push him out there with no blocking, and let's see him make that magic like he made in his last year at LSU. But Joe Burrow, we don't know what he's going to be in coming back from this injury. But I think it helps that he's got some good young receivers, but we just don't really know. So those are some of the ones that stick out to me. I think, and look, let me go also to my argument. Patrick Mahomes set a year in Kansas City, and they moved on from Alex Smith, who had a great year that year that he set behind him. But Andy Reid saw the future and saw what he was knew what he was doing when he drafted him, and saw what he had in practice, and they moved on. A lot of people thought they were foolish for that, but Patrick Mahomes, that 1 year sitting. Look at how great he was in his second year. First year playing, the second year in the league.
But you're also talking about a once in a 25-year guy. Those only come along. So let's close it out. This has been fun. I wanted to point out one thing. I think Brady has 500 or some yards to be the all-time leading yards passer to pass Drew Brees. He will not. I don't think he'll get it this weekend. Guess where he is next weekend?
Is he in New England?
He's in New England. Yeah. So I think he's a little salty. So he can break that record in New England, standing across the sideline from Belichick and all that. So that should be interesting. But
let's in the future, let's do a show on Tom Brady. I mean, where and how he developed, where he came from, where he is, how he defined the odds at 44 years old. He's got 9 touchdowns in 2 games. Just incredible. Yeah, but we'll touch on that later.
Yep.